First of all, my thanks to the Bengals organization for taking a chance on a kid from Augustana College back in 1971 and giving him a chance to develop. And it's really an exciting day for me to go in with Kenny Riley. He was my longest tenured teammate that I ever played with. So that is really, exciting. And, I'm just so grateful that the Bengals are doing this Ring of Honor. And, I think for one of the reasons it kind of remembers some of the guys from the past. I think we have a long tradition of success and winning in Cincinnati, and it started back in the 70s, certainly going to the playoffs in the third year in 1970, before I got there. But, 73, 75, I think in those years that we were as good as any team in the football or in the National Football League. Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers happened to be in our division. But I will take satisfaction the fact that we won more games against Pittsburgh than any other team during that period of time. But I think, and again, I go back, especially to the guys in the 60s and 70s. When I talk about the Bob Johnsons and the Bob Trumpies and the Mike Reeds and the Tommy Casanovas and the Lamar Parishes. And my gosh, is Essex Johnson as good a running back as we ever had, except maybe for that early knee injury, in his career. And then we can kind of bring back some of those memories. And, I think sometimes people forget today, especially around the country, that the Bengals have a long and rich winning tradition in the National Football League. And I'm really glad that we can kind of focus on that. And it'll be a fun night, September 30th. And the thing I'm most excited about is we had some success back in those days, and I see a lot of success coming from the Bengals in the future.
Kenny, I'll start if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
I'm curious to get your impression on the team's willingness to finally go ahead with the Ring of Honor. You touched on it a little bit, but what it means and what you think it will mean in the eyes, not only of former Bengals, but other teams who come into Paul Brown Stadium and see those names up on the Eastern Wall.
Well, I don't know how many teams don't have a Ring of Honor, but I certainly think that I'm excited the Bengals are doing this. And, as I said before, just we have a rich tradition, and to go back and remember some of those players from the past and what an impact they had, not only in Cincinnati, but in the National Football League. So I'm really excited. And, Elizabeth did a great job coming to the organization and spearheading this. And I'm really grateful for her and for the Bengals really following through on it.
Kenny, when you think about the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame, and so many people think you and Ken Riley, deservedly so, belong there, do you think this is a good next step to show them that the recognition by the team is a precursor to hopefully getting that enshrinement one day?
I have no idea. It's I guess I've kind of been the picture for, a while now. But, and I don't know what the criteria sometimes, what it is to get in the Hall of Fame. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it until, it's that time of year when somebody calls and asks me about it.
Thank you.
Kenny, what was it like to practice against Kenny Riley?
Well, I think if you talk to any of the receivers during that era, from Isaac to Chris Collinsworth, there was a guy, is Isaac Curtis the best receiver in Bengals history? How could I leave him out when I was talking about former players of the past? But, he made everybody better. And I think, you listen to Chris Collinsworth talk, and he would run a route and Kenny would grab him before he went back to the huddle and kind of give him little tips on how he was tipping it off. And, you had to be at your best every day with Kenny.
How did you get the call, and was the feeling of getting inducted into the Ring of Honor what you expected and hoped it would be?
Yeah, it was. I got the call from Mike and Elizabeth informing me that, and again, I think it was just the sense of pride. Not only, I felt great about it, but I feel good because it's not an individual award really. It's a collection of the teammates that I've had over the years, and And I think when you talk about that period of time from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, what made us special is how close we were and the friendships that still remain. And I know how many of the guys have supported me in my efforts with my foundation. And I think they support everybody. And these guys were just a special group of guys that did so much good in the community and still do today.
Ken, is your phone blowing up from different teammates and players that you played with reaching out about this?
Yeah, it is. And that's, it's been very nice. But like I say, it's tough when you get an individual award because that would never have happened without the guys that I was playing with. And certainly, just another guy, Vernon Holland came in my draft class, #1 draft choice at right tackle. And, the offensive line we had in those days. And of course, when my career was going down, it all shifted when we got Anthony and Max and Blair Bush and Lapham and Bujnak and Mike Wilson, and I got good again. Is there a correlation there somehow?
Is that why this is so special? Because not only you get to celebrate, obviously, Ken Riley, but all your teammates can celebrate and be remembered in a way as part of it.
No, I think that's one of the fun things about it is that we start to remember the past and what it was like. And in fact, I was just at a family reunion and my Aunt Nancy was cleaning out a bunch of stuff and she gave me a box of articles and old programs. And so I spent last week kind of going through those and brought back a lot of memories. I mean, because, my Uncle Gary was kind of like my older brother and he was there from the beginning. And so kind of following it through as I read those articles.
And he's in a couple pictures behind you. What did Bill Walsh mean to you? What did he do for your career?
Well, it gave me the tremendous fundamentals to play the position. And, I remember, when you come from Augustana, that's not the quarterback factory of college football. And to come in and to spend the time with me. And I remember literally, for a week, we would just walk in place to get the footwork and the timing and the feel of it and sitting me down and teaching me the offense and, slowly but meticulously. And so, I mean, he gave me, the foundation for the rest of my career and for my coaching career as well.
And
another guy you forget about is Lindy Infante, who's up there too, who had a great impact on my career.
Ken, Ben Baby from ESPN here. First off, congratulations and nice to meet you virtually. Ken Riley was a pretty good quarterback at Florida A&M before he came to the NFL. Did you ever get to see him throw it around at all? I mean, did y'all ever get to see his arm in practice?
Not that I recall, but I had the feeling if we needed him, he could step over and do a pretty good job.
Did he ever talk about that at times of kind of, did you ever hear, back when I was at FAMU, we used to sling it around a little bit and I could throw the ball a little bit. I mean, did that ever come up at all in y'all's conversation?
No, because then he'll be talking about himself and Kenny never did that, and it's hard when you come from college playing one position and they ask you to make a drastic change going from quarterback to cornerback. My gosh, is there a bigger change than that? But I think, the offensive point of view helped him in realizing, and understanding what was going on in front of him. And, it never wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have been smart, if he wouldn't have been a great athlete.
Kenny, congratulations. I want to kind of echo what Bach said earlier. I think most would agree that you belong in Canton and should be in there. But I'm always impressed at how you've kind of taken some of the absurd Canton slights with such grace and good nature. I'm curious if that was kind of a conscious choice early on your part not to make a big deal of it, or if that's just a matter of viewing it as something that's kind of out of your control that you just don't worry about.
Well, I think it's a little bit of my upbringing as well. When you go to a small high school and you go to a small college, you're never playing for the accolades that may come with it. And I think that's always been my philosophy, coming to the Bengals. We had a lot of success and it wasn't my success. Any success I had was directly related, to the team around me. And so I guess I've never been too concerned about individual things when it's so much of a team game.
I know one of the things you've talked about with that is how great that weekend would be. If that were to happen, can something like this event that will happen in September equal that for you?
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. I mean, not only to be inducted into the first Ring of Honor, but, I talked a lot about the guys from the 60s and 70s because I think they're too often forgotten. But, you know, I think a lot of people remember that 81 team, which was a real special team, and to have those guys there, you know, to be a part of it. But what I'm really looking forward to more is the time that we're not on the field for any ceremonies and the time that we can all get together and really enjoy each other.
Kenny, which accolade are you most proud of? MVP of the 1981 season, or passing titles in back-to-back years, 2 different decades, 2 different coordinators, 2 different systems, you know, or anything else? Is there anything that you point to and say, well, this is what I'm most proud
of? Dave, I think it's got to be 1975 when I won the Man of the Year. You know, you talk about the Hall of Fame being an exclusive club. The Man of the Year is maybe even more exclusive. They only do 1 a year. And I think because that's not only what you do on the field, but what you do off the field. And, you know, certainly I got a lot of credit that year. But as I said earlier, I think one of the special things about the group of guys that we played with all those years is how much good everyone has done for the community.
What about going, Kenny, into this Ring of Honor, the inaugural class? Anthony Munoz talked about Paul Brown, going in with Paul Brown in that first class. What's that mean to you?
Well, it's special. We've had, you know, 2 Hall of Famers in the history of the franchise, and to go in with those. And, you know, I remember when I got down to the Cincinnati, it was the second day of the draft, and I got to go in and meet Paul Brown behind his desk, and just the awe I had to be in his presence. When you think back of the success that he had in professional football, and you know, I think the marks that he made, I mean, basically the way that the teams operate now, whether it's from an off-season standpoint or how practices are organized and how you meet, that was all Paul Brown started that whole thing. And, you know, just to be a part of him. And sometimes I think the only thing I wish is I would have been around him when he was a little bit younger and might have been a little bit more involved in the game planning.
Ken, under normal circumstances, last year, I'm sure you would have been at training camp, getting to know Joe Burrow and talking to him about your career and answering whatever questions he might have. I don't know if that was possible in the pandemic to even get to know him at all. Have you 2 guys had much contact, and are you looking forward to getting to know him better?
Oh, we've texted a little bit back and forth, but no, I'm really looking forward to meeting him. And, you know, like I say, I really appreciate what he did on the field last year before he got hurt. I mean, you can tell he's the real deal. But I'm more impressed, I think, what he's done off the field. I'm more impressed with his leadership skills and how he led that team. I'm impressed the way he handles himself, you know, talking about, well, should we draft this guy or that guy? You know, that's not my job. You know, my job is to play football. So I was hoping it was going to be this spring because I had dropped a few jerseys off for him to sign for me, which he's always been very gracious to do. But unfortunately, with the NFL COVID protocols, I still wasn't allowed anywhere near the facility. So I can't wait for that day to happen.
Kenny, when you got drafted by the Bengals, Paul Brown, Hall of Famer, Bill Walsh, Hall of Famer, those two guys being the 2 people that probably helped you lay the foundation to the outstanding career you had. How fortunate do you feel in hindsight?
Well, I mean, you know, I think the other guys from my draft class, you know, certainly Jim Plunkett was number 1, Archie Manning was number 2, Dan Pastorini was number 3, Joe Theismann went, you know, Lynn Dickey went, and I believe Plunkett had the comment, you know, he said that I was the lucky one, you know, that I got to go to a stable franchise with a great owner, with a great quarterback coach. And I really was lucky. And you know, Dave, when you're from Batavia, Illinois, and you go to school in Rock Island, Illinois, the big city may not have been my cup of tea. And Cincinnati and just the way that you're welcomed there. And, you know, if you work hard, people, you know, respect you for that. So I think Cincinnati was just, you know, the perfect place for me.
Hey, Ken, congratulations. You mentioned Ken Riley's personality and how long you guys were teammates. I would assume there was a couple practices along the way where maybe he got the best of you a few times. Did he ever let you know about it, even in a playful manner, or was it just drop the ball and go back?
More than a couple times did he get the best of me. No, but I think, you know, but the thing is Kenny was always about team. And then he would pull me off aside and he said, listen, your eyes were doing this. This is how you tipped it off, and I got to jump on your route. So, I mean, I think that's one of the special things about him is how he made everyone around him better.
2 more minutes.
Ken, when you look back at the time that you and Ken Riley came in, coming from a very small college or an HBCU wasn't a norm. I mean, now with scouts everywhere and film everywhere, do you look back sometime and think that you guys really helped a lot of other guys get opportunities because you proved that you could play at the NFL level regardless of where you came from?
Well, you know, hopefully that was the case, but you know, I think it was just a case of two guys wanting to work hard and wanting to get a shot at it. But I also think it does show that there's quite a bit of talent at some of the smaller schools.
Yeah, thank you.
Kenny, you were known for your accuracy. I mean, everybody that teammates, opponents, everybody that watched you play marveled at your ability to throw it as straight as anybody ever has. What was the key to the accuracy that you possessed?
Well, I think, Dave, you know, I mean, I coached quarterbacks for a lot of years too. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, it's God-given ability to be able to throw a football from here to there and know where you want it to go. But then I think that to showcase that, though, you've got to be able to have the fundamentals of throwing the football, the balance with your footwork. And I think that's what, you know, Bill Walsh and Lindy Infante did a great job with me. Certainly the fundamentals that Bill gave me, and, you know, just to be in balance. And I remember one of his quarterbacks, Steve Young, saying that, you know, you can film me from the waist down. I'll tell you if I had a good game or not. And then, you know, I owe so much credit to Lindy Infante. I mean, people thought my career was slipping away. And he, you know, sat down with me when he first got there. We watched a lot of old film and saw that I'd gotten in some bad habits. And we worked extremely hard to get back to those fundamentals. So, you know, we talk a lot about Bill Walsh, and I think Lindy Infante gets overlooked in a lot of this.
You talked about being able to enjoy the off the field stuff the weekend of the inaugural class going in, but have you thought about what it will feel like being honored on the field there, just like in that moment being honored?
Oh gosh, no. I guess the thing that I'm most looking forward to is, you know, my kids were young enough and they still remember a little bit of my playing days. Obviously my grandkids never saw me play. Although I've got one grandson that's very familiar with YouTube and looks up a lot of the old videos. But I think it's going to be so exciting that my grandkids will be at the game and get to see me out on the field one time.
One last question.
You have a favorite game from your career that was not a postseason game, a favorite regular season game?
Oh, wow. I guess I go back to that, the 75 Monday night game. We had Buffalo in town, and I think it was the first Monday night game, regular season game in Cincinnati. And I think I threw for 447 and OJ ran for about 200. It was one of those back and forth games. And, you know, again, that was, you know, to see Cincinnati showcased on Monday Night Football and that the town lit up, I think was a very special night.